Season is almost here. Let's go coast to coast to see who's having some fun before training camp starts. Big weekend for ESPN and WWE WrestlePalooza in Indianapolis. No bigger wrestling fan than our guy Tyrese Halliburton. He posted this photo, sleeping in his John Cena shirt the other night before the action started. The headline match, obviously, Brock Lesnar versus Cena. Unfortunately for Tyrese, it did not go his way, Ramona. There were a lot of emotions in the crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Listen, we know that he is a huge wrestling fan because that was the only thing he said he was checking during the finals on social media. And when you look at how he acts, with the choke gesture at Madison Square Garden, the way that he acts on the court, now I see him through that wrestling lens and I get it. I get who he is. He's a WWE guy. He's a troll there.
Yeah. Well, Brock Lesnar saw John Cena. He saw him. He knew where he was. Shams, on Friday, you reported that Tyler Herro's getting foot surgery right before training camp starts. What can you tell us about his injury and the timetable for return?
George, Tyler Herro will be out at least through mid-November, late November. So that's about the first 12 to 14 games of the season. And Tyler Herro suffered this injury in an offseason workout, and he thought he'd be able to avoid surgery, but he ends up needing it last week, and now he's going to be out. This is a significant loss for a Miami team that needed his offense every which way last season.
Yeah, they struggled to score for sure. Kevin Durant doesn't struggle to score. He isn't always in the gym, though. Check out this fish he caught with former teammate Steven Adams. No contract extension thus far, though, in Houston. Mark, he doesn't look too concerned.
That's easy fishing, man. That's deep sea fishing. You just throw some bait out there. I did some real fishing a week ago in the bayou. Shout out to Roadside's Fishing, man, where we got some redfish, and then we grilled them afterwards.
You heard that, KD? He's calling out your fishing skills,
Yeah, come fish with me, man. Do some real fishing.
All right, Celtics Jaylen Brown was on a Twitch stream this weekend. Here was the challenge, a hypothetical $100,000 on the line. Call one person in your phone, but they have to answer. So how did it go?
Call Peyton real quick, see if he answers. I think Peyton gonna answer. He ain't answering game. Crazy. Let me see D-White. Let me call D-White. Down 0 for 2, gang. I just worked out with Nimi. Nimi better pick up. Damn. From Nimi, 0 for 3. I'll smash Jordan in the back of the head. Shall we 0 for 4, gang? This is my last one. This is my last line. JT didn't block me. 0 for 5. What is going on? I think I got a donut. I got a goose egg from the gang. We want to ship, and I got a goose egg. Maybe I got to do better. 0 for 5. 0 for 5 is crazy. Peyton just texted me. Peyton Pritchard just texted me, said, whose number is this? Called 5 teammates, and nobody picked up, but I forgot I changed my number.
Well, there you go. That makes more sense. His number. Who this? Bobby, who's the most famous person in your phone? Wow. Do you think they'll answer if you cold called them right now?
I don't think it'd answer. I would answer his phone, and I would say it's former part owner of the Brooklyn Nets, Jay-Z.
Oh!
Okay.
That number don't work no more.
For this, we had the opportunity of sitting with him in London a long time ago, and we were able to pick his brain on how he broke into the music. And yes, his phone number is in my.
No chance.
Hold on. I need to
he might change his number after this.
I need to hand this back to you. You dropped that name real quick. So. Wow. Next up, Zion Williamson. The Pelicans will be holding their media day availability tomorrow, where we'll hear from Zion as he kicks off his 7th year in the NBA. Freshly minted Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations Joe Dumars spoke on his conversations with Williams this offseason.
The main thing that I've talked to Zion about is just responsibility and accountability. I said, what I've said to him is, with greatness comes responsibility. You don't get to be great and not responsible. Zion has been great. I've not had any issues with him. He's been working extremely hard. I see him probably for the last month in and out of the practice facility, really pushing himself hard. So I have been happy with him this summer. But still, at the end of the day, man, you got to be responsible and accountable for everything you do.
All right, welcome in here to the studio. George Sedano in for Malika Andrews today, joined by the Hall of Famer Mark Spears, Ramona Shelburne, our insider, Shams Charania, and our NBA front office insider, Bobby Marks. So welcome to everybody. Thank you for all hanging out today. All right, Mark, let's start with you. With greatness comes tons of responsibility. How do you feel about Zion year 7? Will we see greatness?
Well, the day before I went fishing in New Orleans, I had dinner with Willie Green, and he talked in high esteem about Zion. They were actually out here at Loyola Marymount University, the whole team working out, playing 5-on-5. He said Zion looked great. great shape, and he's showing a lot of more leadership. I mean, this is a guy that's only played over 30 games twice in his career, missed the whole season, only played 30 games last season. But when Zion plays, they win. And Willie Green also said when Zion plays, he's one of the best players in the league. I don't deny that either. But it's always if Zion plays. And to me, like, if the Pelicans want to be special in their roster, if you look at their roster, it's a lot deeper and better than I think a lot of people think. But Zion, a healthy Zion, has to take them there.
Responsibility and accountability, those are the two words that Joe Dumars said, and that's what he has brought. This is the first executive change, new head of basketball operations that Zion Williamson has had since he's been in the NBA. And that is something that's very important. Zion Williamson was suspended last year for being late to a team playing, but tardiness, that is an issue that Joe Dumars has been very vocal with Zion Williamson. Like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to hold you accountable, I'm going to hold you responsible each and every day. And that comes with habits, that comes with being on time. And I do think Zion Williamson, when he's on the court, he is as good as any player. He has the impact of just about any player toward winning. It's just how can you get him on the court and getting him to play on a sustained level. But how does Pelican season start? I'm very curious to see it. A lot of people have their eyes on it.
Yeah, I saw Joe and Zion together at Summer League, and they were chatting a lot watching that Pelicans team. And speaking of that Summer League team, so Joe Dumars got a lot of grief for his draft, obviously, of Derek Queen. He was asked about that particular draft selection, and he said that the Pelicans don't have a playoff or bust mentality, Bobby. Should they?
Well, listen, when you trade a potential lottery pick, which was sent to Atlanta as far as to go up and get Derek Queen at the 13th pick, there are expectations for you as to at least probably compete for one of these play-in spots. And when you look at next year's draft, which you're looking at Darren Peterson or A.J. DeBanza, one of those two players could potentially be in an Atlanta uniform. I will say this, having traded for an unprotected pick, which was a Clipper pick that we thought was going to be great in New Jersey, that pick wound up turning out to be the 24th pick in the draft. So what looks good in July is not always what's going to happen. But when there's a lot of pressure in New Orleans as far as not seeing a top 5 pick conveyed to Atlanta with that Derek Queen trade.
Well, I think it's just health for the whole team. It's not just Zion. It's Trey Murphy. I mean, he's become one of the best 3-and-D guys in the games, these are great players that they all missed significant time last year due to injuries. And so when you don't have Zion and then you don't have 5 other guys, then I don't even know what the Pelicans have. But I actually think the expectations are so low that there's not really any pressure on them anymore. Like, Mark, how many times have we done a segment or a topic on this show? Is this the year for Zion? Like,
well, we're doing it. It's year 7.
Right. Literally every year. And so I think at that point, people kind of take their expectations off.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, listen, Media Day's tomorrow. We'll find out what they say. So coming up today, here on NBA Today, we continue here. Are we witnessing the greatest player in WNBA history in real time? Well, we'll get you covered and answer that question on the other side. Wall-to-wall analysis of Asia's historical season. And we know who won the MVP this season in the NBA, but do SGA's peers think he's the best player in the league? A full breakdown of the NBA player poll is minutes away. Let's run through some of the most interesting results. Nikola Jokic received the most votes to win his 4th MVP award. Following him is the reigning MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who received 2 less votes than Joker. And to no one's surprise, it's SGA's OKC Thunder team who got 18 of the 20 votes to win the 26th NBA title. The only team to receive votes outside of the Thunder were the Denver Nuggets.
Wow.
And this was an interesting one here. League insiders voted Steph Curry as the best American player right now. Anthony Edwards received 3 less votes than Steph.
No LeBron? What are we doing here?
One player who did not receive any votes, Ramona, for best American player was LeBron James.
Okay.
However, the scouts, coaches, and execs were asked where he would be in a year, with the majority saying he would still be on the Lakers or retired from the league entirely. But before we even get to what the future has in store for LeBron, let's take a look at the roster he'll have for year 23. Bobby, take it away.
Well, one thing we do know that LeBron will be on the Lakers roster at the start of this season, of course. And I do think what they've done this offseason, when you're looking at the addition of DeAndre Ayton and certainly Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia, they're in the conversation when we're talking about some of these top teams in the Western Conference. But here are some of the questions we're going into the season. Year 23 of LeBron. That is remarkable. The last time we saw him was at Game 5, limping off the court with that knee injury against Minnesota here. We talked about the newcomers, integrating Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, and Jake LaRavia. The loss of Dorian Finney-Smith. Is there enough perimeter defense? And here's the big thing. Balancing the two timelines. Oof. You are a win-now team, but then you also have an eye out in 2026 and 27 when you have potential of $100 million of cap flexibility with Luka on that roster to build around him now. That's going to be the most challenging thing this year is the two-timeline approach, win now versus the future.
That's always tough. I feel like every time somebody's trying to go through these two timelines, it's a very delicate dance, to your point. Now, Shams, let me ask you this. LeBron in the last year of a contract at the moment, what determines his future?
I think just seeing how this year plays out, I mean, it's clear that he's not sure whether, does he have 1 year left? Does he have another season after that? So 2026, 2027. I did speak to his agent, Rich Paul, at Clutch Sports today, and he told me it's important not to worry about the future when it comes to LeBron James. Just appreciate the present and also maximizing his present. And that, obviously, that onus potentially falling on the Lakers and what team they put around him. But it's obvious. How does he feel about the Lakers going into the season as the year continues on? Can they be a contender moving forward? And I think the other thing that also sits here as well is Bryce James is going to start his freshman year at college. How does he look? How does he look as a prospect? How does he play into the 2026 NBA draft? So these are all things I think LeBron James is going to be open-minded about.
Ramon, let me ask you this, because the poll was basically LeBron's a Laker or LeBron retires. What did you make of that particular distinction?
Well, it's just because it's hard for him to go elsewhere. I mean, Bobby and I call you 7 times a week about how, if they did this, it's just hard for anyone to trade for a guy making $52 million. It's a lot of money. And even he would have to, ask for that. He would have to approve of that. And I think that we're in a position now where if he was going to do that, he's had opportunities, whether it be a couple years ago with the Warriors when they came calling. They expressed interest again this summer. The Cavs are on that list because we all know the heartstrings are there in Cleveland. But if they were going to do anything, it would probably have to be before the regular season even started because they're in the second apron. And so I think it's just hard to envision how he would go someplace else unless he asked for that. And, Shams, to your point, it's based on how the Lakers do. If they're winning, if they're rolling, I think he blends in. If they struggle out of the gates or if they hit a rough spot, if somebody has an injury, then I think we have a lot of content to talk about in L.A.
You think?
Well, I think the big question is where we are in January with this Lakers team. In a really deep Western Conference, what happens if you're a 500 team and you're competing just to get into the play-in? Does that change as far as LeBron's mentality of competing for a championship? Because all signs would signal that you probably are not competing for a championship. And Ramona hit on a point there is, listen, once we get into the regular season, those teams that he potentially maybe had an eye on this offseason, whether it be Cleveland or Dallas, those teams don't come in play because of where they are financially.
The one thing that surprised me on this poll was that league insiders voted Nikola Jokic as the best player. And this wasn't the part. It was that he basically got every vote but one. Luka got one vote in that poll. So, look, I mean, the Joker is inevitable. He's like Thanos to me, okay? But were you surprised at how lopsided this was?
Well, I was surprised because then there's another question on there as far as who the MVP is, and Shea got 5 votes, and I think Jokic got 7.
Right.
So I'm thinking, like, well, wait a minute, how come Shea didn't make it onto this year? I am surprised with that. Certainly the disparity, not that Jokic is number 1, but that nobody else outside of
Giannis would like it
outside of Luka was even on there.
Look, I covered that series with Denver and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it was a clash of the 2 MVP favorites, right? And Nikola Jokic asserted himself in that series to the point where when you saw them side by side, you saw how important Jokic was to his team, how much he was able to do, how he controlled the game, even on both sides of the ball. It's hard to argue that he's not the best player, and I think even the Thunder would tell you that was the toughest series that they had to get through. If not for Aaron Gordon having an injury in that last game, I don't know what would have happened there. But I am surprised. Giannis should get some votes in that vote. Shea should get some votes, but Jokic is inevitable, as you said. He is that good.
Thanos. Shams, what do you think?
I mean, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
Yeah,
how do you not give him more love? The
Right.
year that he just had, MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP. His own shoe, NBA 2K. I mean, there's a lot of things you can put in there to say why he might be the best player right now in the world. The disparity to me is what catches me off guard.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm with you guys. Like, I can make a case for a lot of those guys that you put in there. I just think that the Joker is at the peak of his powers right now, and I think guys around the league, coaches, players, who have to deal with him on a day in and day out basis, it's not that they're throwing shade at these other guys. They just know how tough this dude is to beat in a given moment. I mean, think about it. In that series, I was there for 2 of those games, and it could have gone either way in that series. And then Aaron Gordon gets hurt, and we know what happened in Game 7. But they were on the brink of upsetting the OKC Thunder.
Well, and it's amazing because it shows you the thin margin where a Thunder team that was faced with a Game 7 at home. Imagine if you lose that game. We're probably not talking about them right now.
Off-season.
It changes the landscape here, but Oklahoma City wins, and now we're talking about Shai and what the next step is with that group.
But I actually think that will help the Thunder now because they've gone through the 16 and they've won. So now that was the year to get them. If you couldn't get them last year, now I think they're going to be more dominant moving forward. Now, Shams, we have something here on the All-Star format. What do you got?
So USA versus World will be happening. It's 3 teams. It's a round-robin tournament, 2 U.S. teams, 1 world team. And essentially how this is going to go, I'm told, here are the details. 4 total games, 12 minutes per game, so a total of 48 minutes of action. So it's essentially 1 full game, NBA game regulation. So these 3 teams will face off against each other in 4 total games, 48 total games here in the 2026 All-Star Game, from my understanding.
All right, hopefully we get them to play hard, okay? That's all I want. Just go out there and look, we know the international team is going to play hard, so that means the USA team is going to have to buckle in and get ready. All right, so that's the expected All-Star format. We'll see what happens in another year, okay? So, all right, coming up next, we do our best to put A'ja Wilson's 4th MVP award into context. What does it mean for her legacy and the rest of the league? We check in with Chiney next on NBA Today. Incredible achievement for sure. Also, Bam, you're doing it. You're making all the other significant others look bad. How are we supposed to top that, Bam? Okay, you're making it hard for us dudes out here. And then how about Mark Davis with the wig he had on there too? So A'ja Wilson continues to rewrite the record books in WNBA history. She's the first player in league history with 4 MVP awards, as we mentioned. She is the 2nd player to win MVP in consecutive years, along with Cynthia Cooper. And she's done it all in just 8 seasons. But for more on A'ja and the Aces, here's our WNBA Countdown crew.
Appreciate you, NBA Today. Elle Duncan alongside Andrea Carter, Chiney Ogwumike for the first time in W history. We have a 4-time MVP. And on top of that, A'ja Wilson, 4 MVP nods in 8 seasons, meaning, ladies, this woman is the MVP 50% of the time that she plays. Put into perspective the historical context of what we are seeing from A'ja Wilson right now.
We are witnessing the greatest player of all time in real time.
Yeah.
Literally. Through 8 seasons in the WNBA, she has the most points, the 2nd most rebounds. A'ja Wilson is dominant. And I feel like each year, it's like you come on the scene, you're an MVP, you win back-to-back championships, you're an MVP. But this is when she had the greatest sense of urgency. This is when the team needed her the most. And she grabbed everybody by the bootstraps and brought them along for the ride. The moment for me was when she won MVP and she took that trophy over to her teammates.
Yeah.
That's what was emblematic. The most dominant player in the most modern era, with the face-up game, the mid-range game, ferocious at the rim, and also just someone that I think is a great ambassador for the game. So well-deserved, snatched every award. Good luck to that trophy case. Like, it's going to be cramped.
You know, that's what's really impressive to me is I think it's, and I'm not going to say it's easy because nothing A'ja Wilson does is easy, but I would say that it's easier to play at a high level when your team plays at a high level, right? When it's a collective effort. What A'ja did this season as her team struggled, she had to reach down and get that MVP trophy out of the mud because her team struggled so much in a way that we haven't really seen the Aces. And then she gets new teammates. There's new roster construction all around her, and she continues this level of dominance. So to me, just what she was able to do this season, in addition to what the team was able to do because of her, that's what makes this one really impressive.
Okay, fair to say, though, that on the same day she wins MVP and makes history, the Fever Play spoiler going into Las Vegas, punching the Aces in the mouth. We saw A'ja Wilson, 16 missed field goals yesterday, most in her playoff career. How do you expect her to respond in Game 2 on Tuesday night?
Like an MVP, like someone that, and that's probably the most special thing about a series is we get to witness these amazing athletes make adjustments in real time and hold themselves to a higher standard. And I would expect nothing less from A'ja Wilson because she got a lot of good looks and they weren't able to fall. She didn't look like herself with the way she wasn't able to finish. So I expect it to be turned around.
And sometimes when you're so great, you think, oh, I got to take this move. I got to have this counter move. Sometimes less is more. She had a lot of looks where it's like, okay, just pop up and shoot the ball. Yeah. You know, but I also think that the Aces have to put her in a better situation to be successful. Because I think sometimes they put her on an island and expected her to cook, but this is the playoffs. And game plans are all around their superstar, their 4-time MVP. So, yes, she'll adjust. And I'm worried she's going to come back with a vengeance.
She's going to look crazy. Well, here's the thing, though. It's very A'ja that even in a loss and even setting, perspective on how many missed field goals, she had a double-double in the first half. It was the first time she had a double-double in any playoff half in her career in the first half.
Still making history.
So she's still